Hi my bumblebees, it's Ethony and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about a modern witch's guide to celebrating the Sabbat of Ostara. As with everything that I share, take what resonates with you and simply leave the rest, and know that I do not speak on behalf of the entire community. So if there's something in here you would like to adapt and put into your practice, do so, and if there's something you don't agree with, that's cool too, but these are some of my offerings as to what you can do to celebrate the spring equinox. Also note that you are still an absolute legitimate witch if you do not celebrate any of the Sabbats or follow the witch's wheel. What you do in your practice has to have meaning for you, and that is the most important thing. So what is Ostara and why do we celebrate it? Ostara is the Sabbat that marks the spring equinox. It is the first time of the year since the Yule New Year where the day and night have been of equal length in time and light and darkness. On the day of Ostara, not only are we welcoming spring, the life coming back to the earth, little baby animals everywhere, but we're also marking the fact that from that day forward, the days are going to start to get longer and warmer. Ostara is one of my favorite Sabbats. I love the fact that we start to get much more sun, even though my hay fever goes absolutely bonkers from early March onwards. I adore seeing all of the flowers out and a lot more wildlife in the area. In many tellings of deity connections with Ostara, it is when the goddess is in her maiden form. It is when she is moving into a more fertile time into her life, right before she becomes the mother goddess. It is also the time of the sun god becoming more powerful. So as the sun strengthens in heat and longevity every day, so does the sun god. With the maiden goddess, she is the reflection of the earth coming back to life and the baby animals roaming around and starting to show themselves. It is when we find that earth wakes from its slumber. In the northern hemisphere, Ostara falls in between the 20th to the 22nd of March every year, and in the southern hemisphere it's the 20th to the 22nd of September. So the best thing to do, as it falls on a different day each year, is to actually look at your farmer's almanac or your witchy calendar to know when it is. So here are some of my favorite witchy practices and traditions for celebrating Ostara. The first one is to cast any spells you want around rebirth and regeneration. As the earth comes and wakes from its slumber from winter, so too can your projects and your energy. If there's any part of your life that could use a little bit of a regenerative vibe, or you need to rebirth an idea, cast a spell and do rituals around that. Set your Ostara altar with symbols and different colors of the season. So the colors that are connected with Ostara are a lot of pastels, the baby colors. So pink, baby green, robin, egg, blue, yellows, and white. Other symbols include flowers, especially any flowers that are native to the time, and bulbs, anything like daffodils and things that actually arrive in spring. We of course have our eggs, which are connected to old pagan folklore. So did you know that it was said that hens only actually produce eggs when there is more sunlight? So when the spring equinox happened, eggs would start to become more available on farms. Now with modern day farming, we have eggs all year round, but that's a lovely little tidbit going back to its pagan roots, which is why you see eggs absolutely everywhere. Of course, it is also connected to baby animals and the idea of rebirth and regeneration. Another very important symbol is the hare. Now, hares or bunnies are connected to many goddesses, including the goddess Ostara, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in a minute. But you also will find in any culture, a lot of goddesses are connected to the bunny. So hares are a sacred animal in the Celtic tradition, and they are also found in many other traditions in the world. Now, we've all heard the whole reproducing like bunnies saying, and it's also that you'll find things like rabbits and animals that come out of their burrows at this time connected to the spring equinox. All baby animals are connected to the spring equinox as well, especially lambs. And if you can find any flowers to decorate your altar, make sure you're doing it ethically and responsibly. One of my favorite traditions of Ostara is having a chocolate Easter egg hunt. Now again, the eggs, as I mentioned, is connected to the pagan roots of Ostara, but there's no reason why you can't have a chocolate egg hunt as a part of your modern witchcraft. I love me some chocolate. Don't think that bunny ain't going directly in my face. The second I stop filming, I'm gonna murder it. But I love chocolate. So if you can do a little Easter egg hunt, it also helps you involve any of the kids you have in your community. Another big connection to Ostara is getting in the garden. So I'm not exactly known as being a green witch, but I am keeping some plants alive, and I'm very, very proud of myself for that. But if you can get into the garden and start to pull out any weeds and prepare for your harvest later on in the season, that is a wonderful practice for Ostara. I love a good declutter. So the next one is to do some spring cleaning. Open all your windows, go through all the things that you have been hoarding over winter, put a big bag of things ready to go to charity if you're going to get rid of some stuff, and even sell some things on eBay. Get rid of the clutter in your life. One of the major deities that's connected to Ostara is Ostara. So she is a Germanic goddess, and it's what the Sabbat is named after. If you can see from the spelling of her name, it's exactly like Ostara. She is the goddess of spring, and you can see in my modern goddess oracle how all of the colors are connected to her as well, with all of those pastels. So you can welcome the goddess into your work for the season. Another goddess that is connected to spring is Persephone, when she would come and rise from the underworld from her 6-month hiatus with her husband Hades and welcome the earth coming back to life, and Demeter blessing us with spring. I love this next one, and it is usually a yearly tradition for me and my witchy friends, which is having a witch's brunch. Now I always crack out the tarot and tea as well, but we would have everything Ostara themed. So we would have sandwiches with egg or something that is connected to the fresh greens that are available. All leafy greens are connected to Ostara. We would have things that have got egg in it. So for example, maybe a custard tart, or we would also do things like omelets or quiches. We would also decorate eggs, and we would have a lot of chocolate. So all of the sort of herbal teas as well would be connected to herbs of the season. Witch's brunch is one of my favorite things to do in this season while we are welcoming more sun. If you're a meat eater, you can incorporate things such as fish, lamb, and hare to your menu. If you're vegan, vegetarian, or gluten-free, make sure you look out for substitutes, as there's always something that you can do. Another wonderful thing you can do for the environment, if you don't already, is recycling and composting. All those eggshells are fantastic for compost. So make sure you're giving back to Gaia and allowing for a fruitful harvest. And my last little practice for Ostara is to go for a walk or a hike in your area and see what life is coming from the earth. Are you seeing different kinds of birds? Are you seeing different kinds of animal tracks? Are you seeing lots of new flowers? Actually looking at what is happening around you in nature is a wonderful way to observe the spring equinox. So now I'm going to share with you some modern witch crafts. Now I am a very crafty witch. I love to do nothing more than crafting. You should see my craft supplies. It is getting a little ridiculous thanks to COVID, but I love crafting. So here are some ideas for crafting. Make an Ostara tree. So traditionally you would use hollowed out eggs, and you would decorate them with any symbols, stickers, paint, with keywords, or any spells you'd like to do. You can even roll up a tiny little piece of paper with your petition or wish inside the egg. You would put a little piece of ribbon on it and tie it to a tree. With the ribbon, I like to use some twine that is going to easily compost or can be used in a bird's nest, and it's not going to hurt anything. Now I do have the vegan alternative here, which is something I did with my coven, the Awakened Soul coven last year, but it's got peace, hope, healthy body, grounded and safe, world healing, and abundance and prosperity. It's just watercolor, so you can create your own Ostara tree doing that as well. So that's an option if you do not want to use eggs in your practice, or you would rather have something that you can put into your book of shadows later. Pressing spring flowers is another wonderful witchcraft. You can do that with just putting down some paper towel and putting it into some heavy books. I've actually found a lot of surprise flowers while I've been reading as well sometimes. It's actually a nice little surprise. but you can use these in your Book of Shadows and in your paper making for spells, moving forward and starting to celebrate all of those flowers coming out. You can also make a pine cone bird seed peanut butter bird feeder. Woo! We got there. So all you need to do is take a pine cone, put some peanut butter in the hollows or the spaces in between those pine cones and roll it in bird seed. Now the best thing to do with that is to just shove it in the tree branch somewhere that it's going to stay up. If you use twine, again, make sure it's something that is biodegradable and it's not going to hurt any animals. But giving back to the little animals that have been waiting all winter for spring to arrive is a wonderful craft. You can also make some seedling pots out of milk cartons or milk jugs. This is a wonderful thing to do as well if you have children in your family, because you can teach them how to water something and bring something and nurture it to life. It's often a practice that is done in schools around this time as well to help kids understand the growth cycle. But you can even attach a little wish to it so that you can put it into the garden later. There are plenty of crafts for kiddos. If you have children in your family, you literally all you have to do is go and Google Easter crafts and you'll be able to find something that is incredibly pagan to have in your celebration and get your kids involved. I am actually not a fan at all of the plastic eggs you find in North America a lot. I was actually a little shaken when I moved here because in Australia we don't use the plastic eggs at all. We just have hollowed out chocolate eggs that we hide. So when I came here and saw all this plastic waste, it kind of shook me a little bit. So try and remember to be as green as possible this Ostara and reuse everything you can. Remember, you can do absolutely anything to mark the wheel of the year and the Sabbats, including doing nothing at all. I hope you've at least found some inspiration for celebrating the Witch's Sabbat of Ostara, and I hope that you give this video a nice thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.